True life is not found in abundance of possessions, but in a relationship with God and generosity towards others. My dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, today we have entered the 18th ordinary Sunday of the year. For today's reflection, we are given a passage from the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 12, verses 13 to 21, where we have the heading saying against greed and the parable of the rich fool. Here we read, someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brothers to share the inheritance with me." So Jesus, instead of answering him, "I will do it" or "I will not do it," Jesus always, when a thing is done or sought from him to be done, he gives the answers which is appropriate not only for that particular persons but for every human being living on this earth. It is applicable to you and it is applicable to me. And therefore Jesus says to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator?" Then he said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." Then Jesus goes to say a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. The whole story we know. And finally, what Jesus is telling in verse 20, "You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?" Jesus seems to say through this parable, my dear brothers and sisters, he gives a warning against covetousness, against people who hoard things, who want to keep things for themselves. And it is against spirituality. Spirituality is spiritually poor. He is a person, though rich in possession, but he is very poor in spirituality. And here Jesus lays emphasis on the priorities which we should have, or material possessions. Our primary focus, or is there a genuine pursuit of spiritual wealth and generosity? Is a question Jesus is raising in front of each one of us. And Jesus is warning against all of us, God against greed. Greed only makes the corporates to accumulate, to acquire more and more after their wealth. They do not leave any tender to be passed to anyone other than a few rich people who want grab everything, have everything under their own control. Even they control even the prime ministers and the ministers, cabinet ministers and other ministers in their hand. And therefore the greed never allows them that others also let have something. let them also live, but accumulates, acquires more and more. And instead of that, Jesus is telling or expecting from us to practicing generosity and rather seek the real riches. Here we can see the contradiction of the Good Samaritan who sought real riches by being spiritually rich, by doing spiritual acts. There we saw that Samaritan, he got on from his animal and he proceeded towards the man of death, and he lifted him up and oiled him and gave first aid to him and took him in his own animal and reached to the innkeeper and kept him there. All these details we know. How he generously, charitably acted towards his fellow human being. But here we see, in contrast to the Good Samaritan, here we see a rich fool who is doing all the actions according to personal pronoun and possessive pronoun. Here we read that he is saying to himself, "What shall I do? For I do not have space to store my harvest." And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods, and I shall say to myself, now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, and be happy." And these are the various verbs as well as various personal and possessive pronoun. Personal pronoun like I and possessive pronoun like myself. He is frequently using it. What he should have done? He should have done like Zacchaeus, who said to Jesus, "If I have cheated anyone, I will return fourfold, and half of the property I will give to the poor." So when this rich man, when he knew the harvest was plentiful and he has gained a lot, he should have said to his servants, "Come, my servants, because of your hard work, I have gained a lot, and I do not want to store them in my barn. Rather, I would give to each of you. Bring from your house sacks and bags to take this wealth which is in plentiful, which God has given me in abundance. Take it, because you too had a share in working in my fields." He should have given them, or he should have called the poor people, "Come to my house. God has blessed me with all riches, and I want to share that riches with you all." If he had done this, then God would have been happy. God would have not said to him, "You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?" God would have not said to him. Rather, God would have said to him, "You rich man, this night God will bless you in abundance. If you had not given your wealth to someone, I would have taken your life back. But since you considered and since you decided to give all of your wealth to the poor people. I extend your life, just like God extended the life of King Hezekiah for 14 more years. And therefore, here to God would have blessed him, telling that I to extend your life because you have acted generously and sensibly and very charitably. Therefore, you need to live a few more years on this earth. And therefore, the same chapter, verses 33 says, which we can take as a conclusion for this passage. Sell your belongings and give alms. Provide money bags for yourselves that do not wear out, an inexhaustible treasure in heaven that no thief can reach nor moth destroy. For where your treasure is, there also your heart be. Amen.